empirical experiments, one can utilize that. So there are aspects of Western or non-Muslim social sciences which can be adopted without tinkering or without having to blend it with the Tawhidic roots. Of course, technology is a good example of that. Some technologies imply also epistemological adoptions, but some technologies do not imply that. So we can take what is not, what does not implicate on epistemology, ontology, or axiology. So, but there are some aspects of social sciences which, if you adopt a certain theory, then that theory necessitates the adoption of the philosophical presupposition which contradicts the Tawhid, then you cannot accept that. But in trying to understand the realities of life, and by realities I mean the good and the bad, in trying to understand, we can benefit from some of the empirical studies of Western social sciences, insofar as they throw up the realities of life. I do not mean realities, the truth, with a capital T, but the truth with a small t. So we can benefit from such findings. So the issue of standardization of roots, I think, perhaps is not really an issue now, because I'm not imposing standardization. For us, the roots of Aqidah, Sharia, and Tawhid must remain the primary roots, but there are things which can be adopted, adapted, indigenized, nativized, Islamized, without implicating those roots. Wallahu a'lam.
The brother at the end of the tape, please start from there. Yeah.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. My name is Hassan, faculty member at Darussalam University, recently researcher, International Islamic University, Malaysia. I would like to draw the points raised by Professor Osman Bakar. You raised two questions. What is the concept of man? What is the content of the identity of the man in reference to the anthropology? I can remember 25 years ago when I was ready to enter admission on anthropology in University of Jahangirnagar, Bangladesh. That time Muslim people, color, did not inspire me. They thought if I study this subject, I will be atheist. Still many Muslim people believe studying anthropology will go to the atheism. So my question to you, how we can redesign the anthropology in the light of Quranic concept, in the light of the faith-based epistemology. You know, you mentioned last year IS Malaysia lecture, it is the time we should design the divine history. Many people are interested to design the Quranic history of mankind, or Islamic history of mankind, or faith-based history of mankind. If we try to redesign the world history based on faith, based on religion, based on scripture, what is our course? This is the question to you. Second, to Professor Kamal Hassan. Prof, you mentioned tasawwuf. Regarding tasawwuf, other two issues also related. The title, tasawwuf, Sufism, spirituality, sometimes metaphysics. How you can relate understanding of tasawwuf, understanding of Sufism, understanding of spirituality, and understanding of metaphysics, particularly in the context of Islamization knowledge and education. Thank you.
Basically, your question is how to study anthropology from the Islamic perspective, how to create what we call Islamic anthropology. Well, if you go to the four elements in the structure of every discipline, in this case, anthropology. What is the subject matter of anthropology? What is the motto of anthropology? It is the study of man. Yes, but who is man? Is man, as understood by modern anthropology, the same as insan, as understood in the Quran? Or is it equal to the bashar of what the Jahiliyyah people refer to the Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam? You are just bashar. Yeah. So we need to look into this, because it is quite clear that what we mean by man is not simply the physical, but also the metaphysical or spiritual dimension of man. Does anthropology include that in the study, the metaphysical? So that's why I said there must be also what we call metaphysical anthropology or spiritual anthropology, not just the social and what we call this cultural anthropology or the physical anthropology, modern physical anthropology, which is based upon the modern theory of evolution. So to me, the question of the subject matter, the scope or the meaning of man is not the same in the case of Islam. So we have to go back to the Quran. Yeah, we have the data, the revealed data given in the Quran. My new book, The Quranic Pictures of the Universe. One chapter is on microcosm. That is basically the concept. The metaphysical and spiritual concept of man is both there. The physical dimension is there. The psychological dimension is there. The spiritual dimension is there. All the elements of man are there. It's all based on the Quran. The Quran provides that. So we cannot create an Islamic anthropology without going back to the revealed data of man in the Quran. Thank you.
There is a motivation for you to buy a copy of the book before you go.
Oh, you don't have time. Okay, good. Yeah, I just want to emphasize another point that while we develop knowledge from the Islamic perspective or worldview, we have to bear in mind that we need to understand the realities, however un-Islamic they are. And here, Muslims can learn a lot from the advances in social science methodologies in trying to discover the social realities. There are many aspects of human social life which are being exposed to experimental analysis, which we can benefit. I think Muslims have not gone very far in these areas. So in trying to, because Islamization of human knowledge is also aimed at social transformation. It's not just changing the epistemology, but the end is also social change. And you cannot bring about social change without understanding social realities. And social realities must be studied as they are, good or bad. If you want to know how come corruption is so rampant in the Muslim world, you have to look into the psychological studies or profile of leaders, into the political motives and so on. And there are theories which are already developed by the advanced social sciences which can help us to understand those deviant behavior. So we can benefit from Western social sciences. But when we move beyond the realities to reach our objectives, which is creating a life hayah tayyibah on earth, based on the dictates of the Sharia of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So the importance of benefiting, developing your own tools of social research is very, very important. And this is where the synthesis, the borrowing, the adaptation, the working together, the understanding can, for instance, if you want to say, Islamize ASEAN, well, you have to depend a lot on ethnological studies of people. There are so many people without knowing the similarities and differences based on ethnocentric or ethnological studies. You cannot really move very far. So you just be making a rhetorical and utopian kind of discourse. Okay, how does tasawwuf relate to IOHK or Islamization of human knowledge? For me, tasawwuf, especially the orthodox, which is in complete harmony, which is actually the systematic analysis of ihsan in the Quran and of the signs of the qalb in the Quran, then it really touches the very core of man, and that is indispensable. So, but tasawwuf is a label, Sufism is a label, mysticism is a label, and so we can do away with labels and go to the substance, to the madmoon rather than to the shi'ar. And the madmoon is again a question of purification of the heart, and that is squarely Quranic and very fundamental mission of man, to return to the perfect stage of alastu bi rabbikum qalu bala shahidna, to the qalbun man ata Allah biqalbin salim, from that stage to that stage. And tasawwuf develops this into a great Islamic psychological discipline of great depth and value. So I think it is very, very important. But your mission should not be to project tasawwuf. Your mission is not to make tasawwuf the queen of all disciplines. Then you're going back to pre-Ghazalian times. Then the fuqaha will come back again and say, no, fiqh is the queen. And then the mutakallimun will say, kalam is the queen. And we're going back to square one. So to me, these are all attempts by the human mind to understand the essence of Islam, Iman, and Ihsan. So they are relevant, but this is not to promote any particular spiritual organization or brotherhood. Thank you.
I'm afraid we will have these two questions, and could you be straight to the point? And yeah.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Dr. Muhammad Mansoor Ali, trustee of Ibrahim College, UK, and lecturer in Islamic Studies at Cardiff University. I'm sorry, it's Islamic Studies. I'm also affiliated.
British legacy.
Yes. I'm also, for my sins, there's another sin. I'm also affiliated with the Centre for the Study of Islam in the UK. So again, area studies. My question to Professor Osman is that you mentioned structures of disciplines. I think you forgot to mention the fourth one, so if you can just elaborate on that, that would be good. My question to Professor Hassan is that at the moment I am supervising 7 PhD students, and a lot of it is basically Islam and from a sociological perspective. You basically mentioned, one of the fundamental problems that my students find is that the current sociological epistemology is based on a kind of a Durkheimian social constructionism model, which sees reality as a construct. So in studying Muslim civilization from a social political perspective, they come across problems. So for example, when they come and interview a Qadiani and he says that he's a Muslim and he's talking about his Muslim experience, and they're using grounded theory where the ideas are induced from the data without questioning the data, they sometimes come across problems. You basically mentioned that sometimes it's okay if the roots are not firm, the fruits are not poisonous. But I would argue that don't you think that if the roots are not firm, the fruits might not be poisonous, but the fruits might be withered, and it might not be of the best quality. You mentioned that in Malay world, the political Islam and Sufism has been harmonized properly. So what toolkit have you developed here that we can use where you are actually harmonizing the social sciences with an epistemology which is loyal to our roots of Aqidah and Tawheed? Thank you very much.
I think in order to beat the time, we have the final question, brother. Yeah, a very quick one, right? Just one question. Thank you.
Jazakallah khairan. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Shamsul Duha Muhammad. I'm Director of Brunei College, London. My question, as it happens, is related to Dr. Mansour's. So I'm gonna, the first one was exactly the same question to Professor Osman, so I'm just gonna limit it to just this one. Again, slightly related, but it will help Professor Kamal, I think, and it's to you. So in the context of your discussion regarding spirituality, I think you said towards the end that we need to strengthen our spiritual root, either in terms of tasawwuf or in terms of Islamic spiritual ethics. And Islamic studies needs to be adjusted to deal with the abuse of power and the spiritual crisis in the Muslim world. What I'm interested in is models. I'm interested in methodologies that are employed in higher education institutions that offer Islamic studies, particularly in the Muslim world, where there is some sort of a methodology to develop and inculcate spirituality, morality, deep-rooted ethical values. If I could, if possible, we would like to borrow from your experience, kind of being immersed in that kind of environment. What kind of methodologies are employed? Not beyond the theoretical, in practice for the students.
Okay, the question addressed to me by both of you requires a long explanation. Since we don't have time, I just mention briefly, and perhaps in the next 2.5 days, we still have time, occasion to discuss further. The other one, of course, is the foundational assumptions. Called this muqaddimat, the foundation. Each discipline must have a foundation. But from the Islamic perspective, I'll say that we can have various levels of foundation. First is the metaphysical foundation. The principles are derived from the Quran, from the divine names. Then the cosmological foundation of that. Like anthropology, there is a cosmological foundation as well. The cosmos, to look at that. Number 3 is the physical foundation itself. Yeah? Because the subject matter, for example, is man, body is physical. What is at the individual level, the other one is the society level. Yeah? So it doesn't mean that we go just for metaphysical or just cosmological, but all the 3 we need to go. Metaphysical, cosmological, and physical or scientific foundation. So this is what we need to examine. We need to re-examine, are the foundations on which modern anthropology is based, are they sufficient? Are they something that is contradictory to the Quran, or what? I give an example. There was an attempt at Hokkaido among the philosophers, scientists, and theologians, just to look at the foundation of modern science, modern natural science. Yeah? So according to that study, about 1/3 of the foundational principles need to be rejected because not in conformity with the current knowledge. Overall, the frontiers of knowledge, the frontiers of human knowledge do not support those assumptions. For example, the question of, is the universe alive or not? So modern science says the universe is a dead thing. that thing. For all classical cosmologists say, the universe is alive. Yeah, I don't have to go into the detail of that. So the other one is question of the what do you call this? 1/3 can stay, but needs some formulation. Okay, so 1/3 is not contradictory to knowledge in various cultures and society. So that's it. There's a job that we have to do. That just precisely because the critics of modern science are saying that the Newtonian worldview is no longer sufficient to explain new knowledge, new physics, and so on. So we have to go. Of course, the postmodernists welcome that.
One sentence.
Two very important questions from our brothers from UK. But I must confess, I'm not able to, supply you the answer, especially our director of Ibrahim College, because this is also a problem in the Malay world, in the Malay Indonesian world, where Islamic, quote-unquote, Islamic studies are being taught in a formal way, in a particular, curriculum designed for getting a degree. At the end of the day is getting a degree and an examination. And so the experiential side of the spiritual is absent. But that experiential side is supplemented in the Malaysian universities by the co-curricular activities. Like in IIUM, our university, the co-curricular used to be very important. And that's where the experiential side of the spiritual dimension is being experienced by both lecturers and teachers during the Tajdid, the night, social service, working together. But this is not curricular. This is co-curricular and also extracurricular. So the extracurricular probably takes you to the experiential side. But in the formal curriculum, it's still quite intellectual oriented, it's knowledge oriented, not internalization. And that internalization of spiritual values and meaning can only come in real life situations. And the teacher is no longer the instructor, but the teacher is a moral guide, setting good example. But this is difficult in formal context and very difficult in public universities. And that is why I begin to have more faith in private universities, private institutions. And then you're not bound by the market. You're not a slave to the market anymore. But public universities are enslaved to the market and to the new liberal paradigm. Knowledge has to be commercialized, knowledge is a commodity. Even spiritual knowledge can be marketed under, let's say, Rumi Sufism. And then everybody will buy it. And then you say, this is love supreme, Rumi revisited, or Rumi in the Malay world. And then, of course, you get more students coming in, and more students bring in more money means university is happy, happier university, then professors are happy. So this is what I would call the commercialization of knowledge, or the raping of knowledge. So the private universities, inshallah, private institutions perform better. That's my answer. And maybe in UK you can do something, but then again you are bound by the curriculum of Islamic studies curriculum of UK. But then your co-curricular, informal, masjid-based activities. We used to have with the students before, mukhayyam al-ibadah, kemah ibadah, where we live out the spiritual meanings. And we give credit also, because if we don't give credit, then students don't come. So yeah, you need to have that also pushed. And so the combination of the formal and informal may be the answer to the public universities. But for the private universities, like for instance, you have Fatani University and you have also in Indonesia, you have Gontor, for instance. Of course, EIEN, you have to undergo changes, but with the autonomy given in different states, the rector plays a very important role. The role of the rector is very, very important. The rector can make a difference. And here we have one good example of the rector. Although EIEN changed to UEN, will have to be interconnected, integrated, blah, 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 what have you. But to my mind, the academic leader can make a big difference. And in Indonesia, we have seen that it depends on what kind of rector you have. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Councillor. Thank you, the brothers and sisters. You join me in saying thank you to our guest speakers, and please join me in saying I now pass on the mic to the headquarters of the Communication Center. Please, sorry for the 2 or 3 extra minutes.